When I was asked to talk about, and even worse, demonstrate clicker training at this conference, I recoiled in horror. Clicker training is something I've really only just dabbled in, but I have done enough of it to say two things for certain. Firstly, it can be a very powerful tool indeed, particularly with male camelids, possibly with females as well, but I have to say I've had very limited success with my two girls. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I've used clicker training. Also, by way of diversion, I've included a bit of cart driving too. Clicker training is a way of training animals in which desirable behaviour is marked with a sound maker and then reinforced with a reward, making the behaviour more likely to happen again. The sound maker in this instance is a small plastic box with a metal strip. There is nothing magical about it, but it needs to be a unique, crisp sound distinct from the human voice, so it marks with great precision the behaviour for which the llama is being reinforced. I have attempted clicker work with all 8 of my animals and have found, by and large, it's the young, greedy, energetic, enthusiastic male who is the best. I have 2 females, and to be honest, I haven't got very far with them, but this could well be because they've come to me quite late in life. My clicker work began with finding out what the pupil, the llama, was prepared to work for. In my experience, it had to be food. I know some owners are unhappy with hand feeding. This is fair enough, but in my experience, it would make clicker work very difficult indeed. My main standby is llama mix and horse herbal sticks, which are cut into 3 or 4 bits. Because I'm aware of the sugar content, polo mints are kept for special achievement, and the sugar lump is the jackpot. The next step was to form an association in the llama's mind between the click and the treat. I started with 3 handouts, and after a few times introduced a click just before the food was given. Then I repeated it and repeated it. My llama got clickerwise. You will appreciate that Tom, the llama in the film here, is already clicker trained, so I'm afraid I can't show you the early stages. From this point, the llama had to do something to get a reward. There are lots of simple things I could have asked him to do, but in this film you can see that Thomas had been asked to touch the target. I can't actually show you this on film because it's way in the past, but it actually began with Thomas just looking at the target and then progressing to touching it with his nose. And then the next step was stretching forward with his neck to touch the target. And then a dramatic moment, he actually had to step forward to reach the target. And then gradually, step by step, we progressed towards him chasing the target to get the reward. Incidentally, the fun exercise when you ask a llama to spin round is taught by asking the llama to follow the target in a complete circle. Usually the target is spun round over his head. And then eventually the target is removed and replaced by a cue. The cue can be a verbal one, or it can be a hand signal one. In this instance, it's both. I did use clicker work in basic training. I found it in some instances to be very, very useful and in some cases limited. The clicker was particularly useful in desensitization. This is saying quite a lot because desensitizing is, I feel, the key to so much else. Footwork, haltering, cheering, and so on.
Still, quite still, quite still.
This is a game I played with all my boys, the statue game. The camelid is required to stand motionless for first 1, then 2, then 3 repeats of the command, quite still, while I handle or groom a part of him. After, in this instance, 3, he is clicked and rewarded. The game gradually moves from easy parts like the neck to sensitive parts like the rear feet, and that movement might take many, many sessions.
Quite still, quite still, quite still.
The clicker is very useful in desensitization, as I've already said. When it gets to actual toenail clipping, here we come up against a snag. You need at least 2 hands to hold the foot. And where's the extra hand for the clicker? To train the llamas to board, the target can be very useful. This is particularly true if you've got a reluctant boarder, which Thomas isn't. I found a clicker useful in training the initial stages of haltering, particularly when using a wire reinforced noseband which stays open, very convenient. But again, as with toenail clipping, I ran into a snag with putting the crown piece on. I only had 2 hands and had to resort to saying good boy, which is good but not as effective. Though I found hand signals to be more effective than verbal ones, here is an instance where only the verbal one is used. It begins with the llama making just 1 pace towards me for a click and a treat. Easy, very easy. Then I decide to make it harder. Just before he makes his next pace, I add a verbal cue, which will be his unique call. Every llama has his own unique call. Thereafter, only paces that are in response to his call are rewarded. Then he is required to make more than 1 pace after his unique call to collect the treat, and then more and more paces. You get the drift. In the end, he's coming not just a few paces, but over quite a long distance.
This is David. His call is David. I'm going to go across the field. Hopefully when I call him, he'll get up and run towards me. Okay. Baba! 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 There's good boy. Tom! Tom! Go on, what kept you? Dilly! Dilly! Come on, you go faster than that. There's a good boy. Horse! Not very good. Come on. Not very hungry, I don't think. Horse! Good boy.
Of all the work I do with llamas, whether it's basic training, driving, or working with apparatus, which we'll see towards the end of the film, my greatest interest comes from movement to off-lead signals. Perhaps I should call it llama obedience, and most of this is taught using a clicker. Please note that whilst I train in the small pen, once a behaviour is secure, the llama performs in the open field, where it is free to run away if it wants to. It doesn't often do it.
Toby, sit down. Toby, sit down.
To my knowledge, not much has been published about clicker training llamas. And to some extent, I've had to make my own rules over the years,
Show us a leg.
things which suit me and my training method.
No.
Such things as never training a llama within 25 yards of another one, and trying to deliver the treat within 3 seconds of clicking.
Toby, roll over. Roll over.
The sign of
Roll over.
learned and secure behaviour is when it's performed
You know, you look
continually
disgusting.
without a reward.
Okay.
To some people who have not delved into clicker training very deeply, the whole method seems like bribery. Let me say, there is no place whatsoever for bribery in clicker training. But yes, I do use bribery, especially with my girls, but I do not confuse it with clicker
Touch your
training.
back. Good boy. Good stay. Toby, say no. Say no. Say no. Can I turn you into sausages? Can I turn you into sausages? Touch your back again. Touch your back. Boy. Upper. Back, back. Back, back. Back, back. Back, back. Standing. Turn around about. And shake hands. Shake hands. Oh, shake hands. Good. Toby, have a scratch. And give us a kiss.
But why don't we take a break from clicker work, and I'll shut up for a couple of minutes and we'll go off in the cart.
I will. Standing. And walk on. Canter. Good girl. Canter. Canter. Good girl.
And now for the fun side of clicker training. I hate the word tricks, so let's just call it fun stuff. The llamas won't mind.
Tissue! 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 Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Open wide. Good boy. Open wide. Open wide. And pack it in. Would you pick up this litter? Put it in the bin. Oh, right. Put it in the bin. There's a good boy. Butterfingers. Oh, pick up the litter. Good boy. Now stick the lid on. Oh, good boy. I'd like to show you a little colour game which I played with my llamas yesterday. Oscar has been taught to recognise yellow coloured little triangles. Toby over here to my right has been taught to recognise blue ones, whilst Dylan behind me here has been taught to recognise the red triangles. All the triangles are knitted with exactly identical yarn. The only thing that differs is obviously the colour. The idea is for them to pick out their colour triangle from a mix of the three and bring it along to a central box which I have on the table there. They have to drop it in. You'll see first of all Dylan working with Toby, and then you'll see the two brothers, Oscar and Toby, working together with their own particular colour. Come on boys, speed it up.
If anyone here has dipped into clicker training, you'll know that the term varied schedule of reinforcement is often mentioned. In common parlance, I think it means rewarding the animal randomly for a behaviour that you want, where the exercise is by design repetitive, like picking up litter or weaving around upturned buckets. The result of varied reinforcement is illustrated here. Banksy was trained to walk behind just one bucket and then back to me. Once I had that exercise secure, we would repeat this one exercise along a line of buckets, but the reward would be randomly given, say at bucket 3 or 6 and 9.